It was. And you know what's interesting about this picture? Today, in the era of the 35 millimeter, that was taken with 4x5 speed graphic.
He did everything with 4x5.
That's right, only 4x5 speed.
And flash.
Why did you get the idea, Graham, to take that picture in your collection?
It pierces my heart, this picture. I must tell you that.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, there's humanity right there. There we all are.
And look what he says down here. I cried when I took this picture. That's a Ouija caption.
Really?
Why would he do? Why would he write on the picture?
It's certainly not for himself, because he knew, right, that he cried.
Well, he was putting together a book. Ralph Ingersoll, who was the first editor of PM, the newspaper in New York, one day they're on the city room, and he said to Ouija, he said, why don't you put your pictures together for a book? You know, your photographs, he told Ouija, are a great document of our society.
Exactly.
And Ouija said, who'll write the captions? And Ingersoll said, look, I'll go over, why don't you try it? And Ouija, you know, his pictures are so childlike, so simplistic, which I say that very flatteringly, and he decided to do it that way.
When I found this print, we had it matted with that showing, because to me it's as important a part of the picture as anything, that statement.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
You know, as a collector, you're becoming a very important part of the world of photography now. I mean,
Not by design.
What do you mean not by design?
Well, I never started out to be that way.
Look at this photograph. That's Marilyn Monroe, right?
Oh yeah.
I interrupted you. What do you mean you just started out to collect?
I love being affected. I love being alive. I have a great fear of being dead. I have a great fear of being stone and unfeeling. And all my life I've surrounded myself with images and objects that make me feel. And then I figured that if it makes me feel, it's going to make you feel too.
Question, can you establish a relationship between your collection of photography and your musical background?
There is a certain connection there, in that with every song I ever wrote, I've tried to reach people. And that's what the collection is about. And even to the microcosm of each individual picture, I'm trying to reach people. I'm trying to show people images where they can cry or whether they can feel elated.
This picture of Monroe, terrific picture. Do you know who shot it?
I'm afraid not. I would really dearly love to find out who did. It's an anonymous photograph taken when she was 17. One of the greatest shots of Marilyn I ever saw in my life.
All the energy is there in her face. Look at that.
It's right there.
It's terrific.
Everything that she was, there it is.
Let me interrupt just a moment to say that you're looking at a show called Talk About Pictures. My name is George Fenneman, and with me is, as ever, my friend Lee Weiner, who is, how do you put it, one of America's two great photographers?
No, I know, the world's second greatest photographer. Humility prevents me from saying I'm the best.
And our guest, if you haven't guessed, is a lovely man, really. Graham Nash of Crosby, Stills and Nash, and as I remember, sometimes young, wasn't it?
That's right, sometimes
And
young.
you've become, as Lee said, one of the great collectors of photography, which is a fascinating, it's no longer a hobby, is it? Did it start as a hobby?
It started out that I couldn't help but take the picture with me when I left the store. That's basically it. I would see 50 images and I would say, wow, that one kills me. You know, and I couldn't leave the store without buying it.
But you know what you've done, though, Graham? In your collection of photography, I mean, in a very recent past, you had an exhibit at UCLA. You know, there's photographs.
Yes, yeah.
And your collection, and there are other collections I suspect comparable, but your collection, what it's doing, it's giving people. I happen to think museums have failed the American public in displaying great photography. I think your collection.
I'm trying to wake people up. I think that the environment crushes people together and turns everybody into sheep so that they can be controlled. And I've never enjoyed that feeling. I want people to be individuals, to say what they mean when they want to say it, instead of being crushed together and having their spirits crushed.
Well, I can have the Ouija picture like we just looked at and have this. I think
this is certainly crushed together.
Yeah.
Tell us about this. I like to guess who takes photographs, but
I'll bet you can never guess who took that.
No, the wonderful lighting on it.
It's a beautiful lady. She's about
a lady
60, 70-year-old. Her name is Ruth Bernard.
Oh,
and she's a San Francisco photographer. And she told me the story when the collection opened at the DeSace Museum a couple of years ago. This little lady came up to me and she looked up at me and she said, "I'm the teapot lady." And I said,
and it was,
"That's you, Ruth Bernard, fantastic."
Graham, interesting. What does it take to get into the Graham Nash collection?
Nothing. It's free.
But I mean, what do you look for?
Oh, do you mean to get, excuse
Yes,
me.
how do I get one of my pictures in
yes.
your collection?
If one of your pictures kills me, if it makes me feel something, then there's a good chance that it would go in.
I like that. I love this. Of all the pictures in your collection, I mean, there's a Ouija one. I love this.
Yeah.
Is that Diane
It certainly
Arbus?
is, Diane Arbus.
But
family in a lawn in New Jersey, taken in 1968.
But that photograph is timeless.
It's of course
I mean, absolutely timeless. Look at this.
Look at the alienation.
And look at the face.
It's the alienation.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
they have everything and nothing.
Nothing. They have nothing. And
Right.
yes.
And the little child is playing
You know
on
what's
his own.
exciting
back
about
there,
having
you know.
you on our show? Is for a man that says he's not a photographer, you have all the feelings of a great photographer.
Did you say you weren't a photographer?
No, I didn't.
I didn't think you did. He sometimes puts words in your mouth if you're not careful.
Well, you push yourself as a collector.
Nobody's ever seen any of
But you
of
push
my-
yourself as a collector.
You do take pictures, right?
Yes, I do. I
Of
do.
what?
And of things that interest me. I can only do things that interest me. You know, I'm not trying to impress anybody else but me.
Are any of your pictures in your collection?
No,
of photography?
absolutely not.
Why not?
It's a good question.
I only ask good questions.
I am very loath to put my name with great photographers.
I could understand.
You know,
that.
I have so many great
Well, I'm
pictures in
sorry.
my
I'm not
collection,
going
you know?
to let you off the hook. I haven't seen your work. You obviously have a very good eye. This you say is an Arbus picture, right?
Yes.
Which I would never would accuse of Arbus. It's a fine photograph. You have a good eye. How do you define a great photographer?
I think a great photographer is somebody that can produce an image that will enrich in your life in some way.
Well, I can't argue there, but I haven't seen your work, and I don't know if but that picture, for example, we looked at Marilyn Monroe, who was
If
anonymous.
I may interrupt, we are going to enrich our viewers' lives in this way. We have a couple of commercials here, because these are the people that make this whole show possible, if you watch.
As we were saying, Graham, before the commercial break, I can't compare your work because I haven't seen your work. But your definition of a great photographer, that would make the anonymous photographer to Monroe picture, in your eyes, a great photographer.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that very much. Tell me something about this.
Max Yavno, Muscle Beach.
Good old Max. You know, Max did a book on San Francisco. He's a good photographer.
Yes, he certainly is.
And a nice guy, too.
Several
you know?
of his images that are just wonderful. This
And that's a wonderful
in particular. Humanity. Every square inch of this photograph is classic. Every square inch of it.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know? There's nothing, there's not an extra person in there that you'd say, God, I wish you'd have
But
left
look at
that
this.
person.
You could spend an hour just look at the signs.
Absolutely.
Look at the look at the people. Every detail. You're right. You could take little images, little sections
Every
of it.
square inch.
Every picture would be a.
And you know, these observers are just classic. The tension.
You
know,
realize that
it's
we've given old Max a lot of time on our show, haven't we?
We certainly have, and I understand why, because it is very good. And you know, the amazing thing is that we have all stood there,
Yes.
and we haven't taken that picture.
That's right.
Because there was too much going on, we thought.
That's right. You thought it's too
didn't see it.
confusing. You know?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the point of this is that it's humanity crushed all together into one little square.
You know,
It's
speaking
fantastic.
of Max Yavno, and I want to take a second to tell you, because I think Yavno is a very good photographer.
Yes.
And I think this is Max Yavno's great forte. But many years ago, in Los Angeles, there was a fine art director named Bob Wheeler. And he hired Max to take a classic photograph of a red bottle of ketchup for Hunt's Food. And it was a terrific photograph. It was red on red, and then I think he did a red one with a white background, and won all kinds of art directors awards. And Max made a classic mistake that many photographers, self-included, sometimes make. He thought he was a food photographer. And he started taking assignments to photograph prepared food. And he wasn't nearly as good as some men who
of the
specialize in
technical people,
technically.
yes.
This is where Max Yavno shines.
Yes,
He's a
indeed.
Wonderful shot. Yeah.
Wonderful shot. This is a very good picture, man. Whose is this? Forgive my ignorance. I think I know, but
It's Paul Outerbridge. No, Paul Outerbridge was a brilliant, brilliant abstract photographer, way ahead of his time. And this is his self-portrait. This is how Paul Outerbridge would like the world to know.
This is his self-portrait?
Yeah.
I have his book on color
Yes.
that he wrote many years ago.
Oh, yes, he was
on,
way ahead
on
of
the
his
uses
time.
of color and how to take color photographs.
Certainly.
I didn't
Copper
realize
I'm sorry,
that
go
he
ahead,
did, that this was his self-portrait.
His platinum prints are beautiful. Yes, I prefer them. I like the history of his color work, you know, pioneering Carbro prints, but it's his platinum prints that really appeal to me.
You know, Graham, if I were going to collect photographs, I would love to collect self-portraits done by great photographers.
There is a tremendous exhibit of self-portraits by...
Oh, there is. I
Yes.
was nowhere, because, you know, a self-portrait can be a great lesson to anyone, professional or amateur, to learn how to photograph people.
Yes.
It's a very difficult thing to take a good self-portrait.
But this is absurd, isn't it?
But that's how he saw himself.
Yes.
Obviously, that's how he saw himself.
Yeah.
But it's a strong picture.
Yes,
Going from that, you want to see another strong picture, George?
Oh, yeah.
Look at this picture.
Diane
now that's an
Arbus, too.
Arbus photograph,
Yeah.
right?
It certainly is.
Yeah, yeah.
Madness. Why should we bring our children up to do this? Look at him. He'd blow up the world given half a chance.
Was that a posed photograph?
I don't believe so. I don't think that many of the stuff she did was posed. She may have put people together, but I don't think she ever posed them.
You know, what a picture for this arm, you know, to counteract this arms race the world is in right now.
Yes. I usually compliment this photograph with a Arnold Newman photograph of Krupp, who's the arms.
Oh,
we had Arnold on the show. Remember that wonderful picture?
And the juxtaposition of, I think this could be Krupp in later years, you know, if given a free rein.
The tension in that picture, though,
It's
is
tremendous.
insane.
I don't have it here. It's terrific.
It's disturbing, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Look at this one.
Talk about disturbance.
Oh, this one I know.
Of course, this is
Eugene Smith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tomoko in Bath, taken in Japan. You know, the sad thing is that it was 17 years after this picture was published in Life magazine that the factory were forced to stop pouring the mercury into the water. 17 years.
Well, do our viewers understand that this is a victim of
mercury poisoning in Japan, in a tiny village called Minamata.
And he, Eugene Smith, took a series of pictures. He stayed there a long time.
For which he paid dearly.
They beat him up?
Yes, they did.
They tried to blind him?
Yes, they did.
Because they wanted to silence
Stop
his
him.
camera. If
Which
you
is the
silence
power
camera,
of
I guess you do.
what was it taking, a 60th of a second?
That's right.
The power of that slice of time, you know. But it did take 17 years for him to
I got
stop
to tell
him.
you something, Mr. Nash. You and I can get along very, very well. See that phrase you just used, a slice of time. That's what it's about. It's not the decisive moment.
No.
That's a great expression.
It's
a slice of time.
Yes, it is.
That's what that is.
Yep.
And this
very powerful.
Tremendous,
powerful.
tremendous picture. But it's a wonderful way of expressing it too. That's a swell.
Poor
photograph.
lady.
But they did finally close
They
that
finally
factory,
did, but
didn't they?
only
or clean
years
it up
later,
or
yes.
whatever.
Look at this one, George.
Well, that, of course, is an old picture.
That's
isn't
a
it?
wartime. isn't
Civil War, yeah.
it? Was that a Brady photograph?
It's a strange thing with Brady. He was the umbrella for a lot of photographers. I think it's actually taken by Alexander Gardner, and I believe it's from a negative by James Reiki.
Did they ever finally discern which of the Lincoln pictures were actually taken by Brady and which were taken by one of his photographers?
I think it's very difficult.
Yeah, how could you?
So long after the fact.
You know, look at
5
this.
dead, 5 alive.
5 dead, 5 alive.
If you'll let us take 2 minutes, we'll come back and talk some more.
5, 5, and 2. Okay.
We have a commercial for you right now.
Well, as we were saying earlier, Graham, these are really cemetery crews. These are cleaning up the dead of the Civil
That's
War.
right, that's
and
right.
to my knowledge, isn't the Civil War still the most killed in one war? I think isn't that more than World War I?
I think World War II took care of that.
You think so?
Well, there were 20 million Russian dead alone.
It's a tremendous photograph.
What that dehumanization process, that's what I'm...
You know what I could never understand about the Civil War? They would take time out. They would go down there, the North and South soldiers, they would exchange tobacco. They would sing Christmas carols, and then go back and, hey, I've got to kill you now.